Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to Nine Nar Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book. Animal Farm by George Orwell is a concise political fable that uses a group of farm animals to explore how revolutions begin with lofty ideals and can slide into oppression. After suffering under a negligent human owner, the animals unite, overthrow him, and attempt to build a society based on fairness, shared labor, and collective decision-making. At first, hope feels practical, rules are written, committees form, and the promise of equality energizes the farm. Yet new power dynamics quickly emerge, driven by fear, propaganda, and the gradual rewriting of principles to suit those in charge. Orwell crafts the story as an accessible allegory of 20th century totalitarianism, showing how language and control of information can reshape memory and normalize injustice. The book remains widely read because it captures political patterns that repeat across times and cultures, while still functioning as an engaging, sharply plotted narrative about ambition, loyalty, and betrayal. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, revolutionary ideals and the spark of collective action. The opening movement of Animal Farm centers on the emotional and practical forces that make a revolution possible. Orwell shows how shared hardship creates a common identity and how a simple vision of a better future can turn frustration into coordinated action. The animals are not portrayed as naturally heroic. They are tired, hungry, and vulnerable. What changes is their ability to interpret their suffering as unnecessary and unjust, and to believe that unity can replace fear. This shift matters because revolutions typically begin not with detailed policy, but with moral clarity and a promise of dignity. The early organizing energy also highlights a recurring challenge: enthusiasm can outrun planning. The farm's new society launches with symbolic gestures, new rules, and the idea that all work will serve everyone. Those signs are powerful, but they also depend on trust and on the capacity to keep leaders accountable. By framing the uprising through animals who cannot fully anticipate political manipulation, Orwell emphasizes how easily hope can be redirected. The topic invites readers to consider what makes movements resilient: education, transparency, and institutions that outlast charismatic leaders. Secondly, power consolidation and the creation of a ruling class. After the initial victory, the book shifts to the quieter, more dangerous phase of revolution, the consolidation of power. Orwell traces how a small group can transform itself from representatives into rulers by controlling resources, expertise, and access to decision-making. The animals start with the language of equality, yet differences in literacy, organization, and strategic positioning allow certain figures to become indispensable. As responsibilities concentrate, privileges follow, often justified as necessary for the common good. This is one of the book's most enduring insights. Domination rarely arrives all at once. It grows through exceptions, special cases, and claims that efficiency requires obedience. The ruling group learns to manage dissent through selective rewards and punishments, and through the creation of internal enemies that make ordinary animals cling to authority for safety. Orwell depicts how alliances form, fracture, and reform around ambition rather than principle. The result is a new hierarchy that resembles the old one, even when it uses revolutionary slogans. This topic helps readers analyze how organizations, governments, and even workplaces can drift toward oligarchy unless power is distributed and continuously checked. Thirdly, propaganda, language control, and manufactured memory. A central mechanism of control in Animal Farm is propaganda, the strategic use of language to shape perception, narrow debate, and rewrite reality. Orwell shows how slogans can replace thinking, turning complex questions into easy chants that feel comforting and decisive. The animals' limited access to information makes them dependent on official explanations, and that dependency allows leaders to present self-serving policies as sacrifices made on behalf of everyone. Over time, the leadership's narrative becomes more important than observable facts, and disagreements are framed as disloyalty rather than honest inquiry. The story also demonstrates how control of records and rules enables manufactured memory. When principles are altered and the past is reinterpreted, the community loses its anchor for judging whether conditions have improved or worsened. Doubt is neutralized by repetition and by social pressure to conform. Orwell's allegory remains relevant in an era of spin, misinformation, and targeted messaging because it illustrates how authority can be stabilized without constant violence, simply by managing what people believe is true. The topic encourages readers to value independent verification, civic literacy, and the habit of asking who benefits from a particular story. Fourthly, fear, scapegoats, and the logic of political violence. As the farm's leadership tightens its grip, fear becomes a governing tool. Orwell depicts how insecurity, whether real or manufactured, can make communities accept harsh measures that contradict their founding ideals. External threats and internal traitors become convenient explanations for shortages, setbacks, and policy failures. The creation of scapegoats shifts attention away from those with power and directs anger toward targets that cannot defend themselves. This process is effective because it offers psychological relief. It is easier to blame an enemy than to confront systemic mismanagement or corruption. The story also explores how public punishments and forced confessions can reshape social norms. Once violence is presented as necessary for survival, moral boundaries move, and each new act of coercion becomes a precedent for the next. Orwell emphasizes that political violence is not only physical, it includes intimidation, isolation, and the destruction of solidarity among ordinary members of the community. The broader lesson is about the fragility of rights when fear dominates public life. This topic is useful for readers who want to understand how authoritarian systems justify crackdowns, why bystanders may comply, and how maintaining humane principles requires courage and collective accountability. Lastly, Betrayed Equality and the Transformation of Rules into Tools. Animal Farm culminates in the bitter recognition that equality can be hollowed out while its language remains on display. Orwell examines how rules intended to protect everyone can be reinterpreted, amended, or selectively applied until they serve the powerful. The animal's original principles promise fairness in work, food, and status, but the day-to-day reality shifts through small adjustments that are easy to miss individually and devastating in total. Privileges are rationalized as temporary, then as deserved, and eventually as normal. Ordinary animals adapt because they are exhausted, uncertain of their own memory, or still hoping the system can return to its original path. Orwell underscores a painful truth: oppression is often maintained by incremental compromise rather than a single dramatic betrayal. The story's final reversal shows how symbols of liberation can be repurposed into symbols of domination, and how the difference between oppressor and liberator can disappear when accountability fails. This topic helps readers think about constitutional safeguards, workplace policies, and community norms in real life. It argues for clear standards, independent oversight, and the courage to question changes that seem minor but erode core values. In conclusion, this book is best for readers who want a short, gripping story that also clarifies how political systems can decay, including students, book club members, and anyone curious about propaganda, authoritarianism, or the history of revolutionary movements. It benefits a reader's life by strengthening critical thinking. It highlights how language can be used to manipulate, how fear can normalize cruelty, and how apathy or exhaustion can quietly enable injustice. Those lessons apply beyond politics, to workplaces, communities, and online spaces where narratives compete for attention and power can concentrate without oversight. Animal Farm is worth buying compared to similar political allegories because it delivers its insights with exceptional clarity and narrative momentum, making complex dynamics easy to recognize without heavy theory. Orwell's approach is also memorable. The farm setting and the animal characters turn abstract concepts like ideology, revisionism, and institutional capture into concrete scenes that linger in the mind. The result is a book you can read quickly, discuss deeply, and revisit when you want a sharp reminder that freedom requires transparency, education, and accountability, not just inspiring slogans. If you would like to support George Orwell, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.